or if you're currently being around this area, by 5:55 is when this storm will move in. Once again, as a reminder, the tornado warning lasts until 5:45. So I want you to be on alert just in case this warning is able to carry past where the current box is highlighting. Now, also, if we don't have a confirmed tornado from this, we're still going to have to keep our eyes peeled for that damaging hail that could be possible with it as well. In fact, I think the hail is almost a certainty at this point. If you know anyone out in this area, or if you're seeing any reports on social media of maybe video or photos of this hail, by all means, please reach out to the station. We would love to showcase that on air and have you help us tell the weather story here. Right now, we'll pull the hail tracker back up. I am seeing a slight weakening trend based off of the scans that have happened over the past several minutes. If you recall, maybe about 3 or 4 minutes ago, we were picking up on that magenta color, that brighter purple that was indicating hen egg size hail. Now it is still large, it's still damaging, but now indicating maybe golf ball size hail, which is just a little bit smaller compared to the hen egg size. Once again, this hail core is looking fairly large, which means it doesn't necessarily just have to be toward the center of circulation. I need areas from Brady all the way down into Mason County to be on alert for now. Now, the time is currently 5:31. As a reminder, this warning does last until 5:45. The severe thunderstorm warning is the box you're seeing on your screen in gold. That is extending past the tornado warning. I guess basically what we're seeing here is that the models think that the rotation would end by this point before it gets a little bit further into the eastern edge of Mason County. But there have been many a time where the tornado warning can be extended if that rotation still holds together. So what we're going to do here, take another look at the rotation here. I'm going to put the loop on here over the past hour to see if it's coming into better focus. Right now, I personally don't think it has shown any more significant of a tightening trend here. I'm not seeing as much of a significant hook between the green and the red. It's been pretty consistent, I'd say, over the past 15 to 20 minutes or so by the looks of it. Let's kind of stop it and freeze it here right now. We are still not seeing this rotation in Mason County just yet, but you can see it is just on the edge. And that's why we are hopping on here and doing continuous coverage of this storm, because eventually we are going to see it enter in our viewing area, and we want to make sure that people have a heads up notice. We're not doing our jobs here if we're not making you aware of the threat ahead of time, which is why we do want to go ahead and provide wall-to-wall coverage for this particular tornado warning. Once again, have not yet heard of a confirmation, a visible confirmation of this tornado, but the radar has indicated a severe thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado. Right now, I think that's going to be just west of the Fredonia area. What we'll do is we'll pull up the hail tracker once again. I continue to see what appears to be a very gradual weakening trend on this hail core, now indicating shades of the darker blue, which would either be indicating heavy rainfall or more likely large hail in the form or in the size of a round of a golf ball, I would say, is based off of these most recent scans. If you're just tuning in, if you got loved ones in Mason County, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit further to show you how much of Mason County is included in this tornado warning. You can see it's going to be north central Mason County that's included in it. Let me move this hail indicator off just a moment so you can see all of the tornado warning area. If you've got loved ones that are maybe even traveling through the North Hill Country or in Mason County right now, please make them on alert. If you live in or near Mason, yes, you are on the outer edge of this tornado warning, but I still want you to be on alert just in case this system were to maybe make a slight pivot toward the south. It's currently moving southeast. However, the reason these strong storms are growing and initiating is because we have the front to our north, but we also have our dry line out to the west. Now, that dry line is kind of going to be meeting that cold front, and where they meet in the middle is where we're going to see these storms start to unfold. If the dry line maybe moves a little bit further to the west, I wouldn't be surprised if the cold front's able to push it a little bit further to the south, which is why Mason does need to be on alert, even though you're not currently seeing any activity in your neck of the woods. If you're just joining us, just as a reminder, we do have an active tornado warning that does include Mason, which does fall within our viewing area, Mason County, until 5:45. Now, the bulk of the activity is still just to the north of our viewing area. The time is currently 5:35. We are now getting an update to this tornado warning. You'll notice that what has happened is it's kind of shortened or kind of sized down a bit, which is good news because we can focus in on the area of rotation that falls within this area. Let me zoom in here locally just a little bit closer to see. Now it does appear that most of, if not all of, Mason itself has been removed from the warning, but just on the eastern edge of Mason is still included, and north central portions of Mason County do still fall within this tornado warning. Now that it's been another minute or two, we can check the velocity from the Doppler winds just to see if we are getting any more or a better view, I should say, of that rotation. Once again, red and green indicating inbound and outbound winds. I'm seeing a little bit better of a signature here, but not by much. Once again, looking like it's just south of the Voca area. Areas of red and green. This is kind of the neck of the woods that we want to keep our eyes on just north. This is the Mason County line right here. So we need to be mindful of this just along Highway 71. If you're tuning in here and you know anyone that's in this neighborhood, please give them a call right now and tell them to seek shelter immediately. Once again, what does shelter look like for those of you who are maybe within this tornado warning, but it hasn't, the system itself has not yet reached your neighborhood? Here's what you're going to do. If you're in a sound structure, I'm talking a sound home here, we're going to get on the base level. We're going to go to a central room with no windows or no windows. Of course, it will have the door, but go ahead and shut the door. The reason we want you in the central portion of that level is because we don't want any flying debris to possibly project through the wall or through any windows, which is why we're going to try and go for a room without windows. Bring a blanket or a pillow if you can. If you have enough time, once again, if you're kind of on the furthest edge of this tornado warning, grab a mattress if you can and bring that in with you to your safe space. You're going to keep your head down. You're going to keep the volume up on this broadcast so I can walk you through everything and let you know when it's good to come out. Now, what happens if you are not in a sound structure? What if you've got a loved one that's on the road right now and you're trying to give them some pointers and tips? Well, here's what you're going to do. You are going to find a low-lying area. You are not going to try and outrace this storm by car. That is not how we do things. What you need to do is find a low-lying area such as a ditch that is away from any trees or any objects that could easily become projectiles that the wind could carry away. You're going to get in that ditch, you're going to lay face down, and you're going to keep those hands behind your head until the system passes. I know that sounds wild. We think any kind of shelter is a sound structure. However, your best chance in a situation like that is to find a low-lying area, such as a ditch, once again, away from trees, away from any free-flying debris that could possibly be picked up from this particular rotation. So what we're seeing right now is once again those inbound and outbound winds. The red and the green is where we need to focus in on this particular tornado warning. We'll take another look at the hail core to see if there is any kind of weakening trend. I do think we continue to see a weakening trend with this particular system, which is great news for us here because that means that we are eventually going to see maybe the rotation weaken as well. Taking a look at the size of this in particular, we'll go for the center of it here, the dark shade of blue, still indicating golf ball size hail, but let's also take a look at the slightly lighter shade of blue to see what other size we could be picking up on here. Walnut size hail would be this shade of blue just outside of the dark blue. So think this area right here. Once again, this is a radar indicated tornado warning, which means we have not received confirmation from viewers or from the National Weather Service that an active tornado has been found on the ground. It is moving southeast at 35 miles per hour, but please wait a moment with me so I can get the latest on this warning. An update within, now we have the system moving just a little bit slower. Now it is moving east at 25 miles per hour. So what's happening here is we were initially tracking it when the warning began moving southeast at 25 to 35 miles per hour. Now it is moving east. And if that is the case, then it could stay just north of the Mason County line, which would be good news for our KV viewers. Not great if we have loved ones that are just north of our viewing area. The time is currently 5:40 and the warning is still in effect. Let's verify to make 100% sure. It is expected to still be in effect until 5:45. So as of now, we still have about 5 minutes left together on this tornado warning that as of now is still moving east. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the latest storm cone to see who needs to be on alert. I know that this particular storm cone is not picking up necessarily on areas that fall within our viewing area, but the reason I want to highlight them is if you have loved ones, friends, family members that do live along the path of this storm, albeit, if you live in Mason County, it's very possible you have loved ones that live just to the north of you. Please reach out to them and make sure that they are getting these weather alerts and staying aware at least for the next several minutes. Regardless of whether or not this is a tornado, an active tornado, it is still packing a punch in regard to heavy rainfall and potentially damaging hail. If you're near Union Band Church, if this storm holds together, which I'm fairly confident at least the heavy downpours, maybe even some lightning associated with it and hail will still be impacting these areas despite whether or not the tornado warning carries over past 5:45. If you're near the Pontotoc Winery, please make sure you are taking alert as well. We'll once again get another scan of the winds here. It does look closer to the Fredonia area that we would need to be on alert. The bigger the difference in between the red and the green, especially the brighter indications of green, is usually where we pick up on the rotation. I am still seeing just a little bit closer to the Boca area, but I think right here is what the National Weather Service is really focusing in on. Let me see if we have another update from the National Weather Service right now. Tornado is the potential hazard that we've been talking about, but also up to tennis ball size hail. I do think we are still seeing weakening trends in regard to the hail, which is great news. Unfortunately, our hail threat will continue as we head throughout the evening. As of now, Mason County is our only county in the KV viewing area that falls under a tornado watch. That is going to be in effect until a little bit later this evening. I believe to be exact until 9 o'clock this evening. These storms are going to continue to push out from the northwest to the southeast as we go throughout the evening hours. Between the hours of now and 11 p.m. is when we're going to have to stay on alert. So once again, as a reminder, tornado warning, 5:45 is when it lasts until right now it is just about to turn over into 5:43. I know it can be annoying whenever we hop onto the waves and give you wall-to-wall coverage regarding tornado warnings, but this is our job here. We really want to focus in on our KV viewers, and even if the storm is just north of our viewing area, the tornado warning box itself does include our KV viewing area, and we want to make sure that everyone is on alert at the potential not only for severe weather this evening, but what is actively going on. If you have anyone that lives near the Fredonia area, please make sure that they are taking shelter immediately. Just as a reminder, if you're just tuning in, that is going to include the lowest level of your sound structure. If you have multiple levels, 2 or 3 floors, you need to get down to the bottom floor. You need to get away from windows and doors from the outer exterior of that building. Find an inner room, maybe a laundry room or a bathroom. We're going to keep our heads down until this storm passes through. If you are watching us once again on the television, turn that volume up. If you're streaming us on a laptop or on your phone through our app, make sure you bring that with you. Keep the volume high as well, and we're going to walk you through this. We've got at least another 60 seconds together on this tornado warning. Goes until 5:45. The current time is 5:44. As of now, the rotation or possible rotation is still to the north of our viewing area. I am seeing what could potentially be some minor rotation moving into northern Mason County. This would be just south of the Fredonia area. It does look like we have an extension of the tornado warning. This is just in here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the newest data. This is showing the tornado warning continuing, But how the system was moving east at 25 miles per hour, it does look like this new tornado warning, the extension really of the same tornado warning, is still moving out to the southeast. Now, right now, you will notice a little bit of an odd splice in regard to how this warning is issued. And that is because we have multiple National Weather Service offices here. Mason County does fall under a different National Weather Service office compared to the rest of our KVUE viewing area. For that reason, you will notice that much of, if not all, of Llano County is out of this tornado warning. That's because this warning would have to be issued from the local National Weather Service office that controls most of all the warnings for this area. So the other office that controls Mason County's warnings does still have Mason County, and then just north of Mason County including McCulloch and then Sensaba County. That is what we're tracking right now. So this new warning goes until 6:15. Current time is 5:45, so that's just under another 30 minutes or so. We'll get another look once again at the radar to see if we are picking up. Right now, what I'm thinking is we are starting to see almost a little bit better of a signature in regard to the rotation right here. We'll also get the latest here from the National Weather Service. The system has now changed direction slightly. About 5 to 10 minutes ago, it was moving east at 25 miles per hour. Now it is once again moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. This is exactly why we're kind of giving you the heads up if you're on the eastern edge, the western edge of this tornado warning to be on alert, because if we see it move from the east to the southeast, it's very possible it can continue that trajectory down to the southeast, which is why Mason County does have that tornado warning extended a little bit further to the south, despite seeing any activity currently. The bulk of this has been staying on the central to northern edge of the tornado warning. Let's go ahead and walk you through the timeline once again, now that we have an updated direction and also speed. It's moving a little bit faster than what it was a few minutes ago. What I will once again do is I'm going to put the cone on here, and we are going to take a look at the other areas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting it from the central portion of this warning, not just the edge of the storm, because I want you to know where the center of rotation would be. So if you live in Llano, 6:44, that's just under an hour from here. I know that seems like a little excessive, but we do want to give you a heads up, because these storms do pack quite the punch, and it's very possible that it could still stay together. I do still expect some storms to possibly develop out in portions of Llano and Burnett County a little bit later this evening. If you're closer to Llano Municipal, you need to make sure that you are also on alert. Shiloh Church by 6:29, that once again is still a ways away from here, but we want to make sure that you are at least getting a heads up notice here as additional storms are possible. What I'm also going to do is I am going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the grand scheme of things here. You can see this is the only active storm that we currently have in the viewing area, although we are already starting to see some storms bubble up just north of the KV viewing area. Think just north of the Temple area, closer to Waco. We are getting more and more issues of watches and possible warnings for parts of the KV viewing area. The rest of it is which, just for a reminder, is going to be a severe thunderstorm watch is now being issued for Bastrop, Blanco, Burnett, Caldwell, Gillespie, Hayes, Lee, Llano, Travis, and Williamson counties. Just if you're curious about that, that will be in effect until midnight tonight, just into the newsroom here. So a good portion, if not most of our viewing area is going to be under severe thunderstorm watch. If you're curious about that. But right now, we want to focus in on the active tornado warning that is including parts of Mason County, which does fall within our viewing area. As of now, the bulk of the rotation is kind of on that county line of the viewing area and just toward our north. Once again, if you live near the Fredonia area, or if you have loved ones there, I need you to make them aware of what's going on here. The hail core continues to hold together slightly, but nowhere near as strong as what it was about 30 minutes or so ago whenever we were seeing hen egg size hail. I'll freeze it here so we can take a look at the the largest hail that's included here. I believe it's still showing walnut, maybe ping pong ball size hail. I do think we're not out of the woods yet in regard to severe weather potential with some large hail for many other portions of central Texas a little bit later this evening. Once again, look for that possible rotation. Just as a reminder, if you're just tuning in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit further so we can show you the trends here. Green and red indicating inbound and outbound winds. Green moving toward the radar, red moving away. Where we start to see them do this little dance, that's where we see the possible rotation, which is why the tornado warning is issued. Just as a reminder, this is a radar indicated tornado warning, which is why we have to keep our eyes peeled for any possible rotation. We do not have visual confirmation of an active tornado, but we do have a severe thunderstorm that is capable of producing one based off of its recent trends. We have the extension of the tornado warning that initially was going to expire at 5:45, but has now been extended until 6:15. The current time is 5:50, about to turn 5:51. I've just been given a heads up from the National Weather Service that a tornado warning is now about to get issued for Llano. So be on the lookout for those details. It will be posted shortly, is what we were just messaged from the National Weather Service. Once again, as a reminder, if you're just tuning in, you're looking at this odd shape of a tornado warning and you're probably wondering why is that? That's because we have two National Weather Service, technically three National Weather Service offices that cover the KV viewing area. And the Mason County National Weather Service office is different from the one that covers the majority of the KV viewing area, the one that looks over most of the hill country, the Austin metro area, and most of the coastal plains. So now here's the latest in regard to the tornado warning that is now impacting, or will be impacting, I should say, Llano. It is currently in effect until 6:30. The current time is about to turn 5:52. So we've got some time before this system does impact Llano, but let's get the latest information from the National Weather Service in regard to the storm movement. Projecting hail up to 2 inches in diameter. I think they're picking up on that weakening trend that we've been talking about for a little bit, how it started off as hen egg size hail, now looking closer to golf ball and then down to walnut size hail. So here's the latest for this particular tornado warning. Western Llano County until 6:30, capable of producing a tornado about 17 miles northeast of Mason, and it is still moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. So that's been the trend that we've been watching for the past 5 to 10 minutes. It's been moving in that direction and at that velocity, that speed. But keep in mind, earlier we had seen it kind of shift and move just an eastward trajectory. So we're kind of watching it wobble a little bit. Now, that wobble would be great news for the rotation because it could possibly kind of knock that rotation off, which would help us not see a tornado form, which is ultimately what we want. We don't want a tornado to form right now, so that's why we like to see a little bit of a wobble in regard to the storm movement. But the reason that it's important, you'll notice kind of the shape here of the tornado warning. Based off of what I'm seeing right now, I think that the National Weather Service wants to factor in that we could see another wobble with it, how it was moving southeast then east. We want to make sure the north and eastern portion of this box is still on alert in case we do see another shift to the east that we were tracking a little bit earlier. So let's talk about the latest storm timeline here and who needs to be on alert. We'll see first from the National Weather Service. Locations that could be impacted by this new tornado warning include Llano, Castell, Field Creek, Baby Head, Lone Grove, Valley Spring, Tao, and Stoltz. That's who needs to take cover now. Once again, if you are just tuning in, if you fall within this new tornado warning, we're going to find the first level, the bottom layer of our sound structure, central room, away from windows and doors. The reason we need to be away from the exterior walls is because tornadoes can pick up and really anything and turn it into flying debris or a projectile, which can go through the windows or even the walls in some instances. We're going to find maybe that interior bathroom, maybe that interior laundry room. Take a blanket or a pillow if you can, and we're going to cover our heads with it, and we're going to stay down until this warning is or has expired. That'll be at 6:30 at least for this newly issued area. If you're watching us right now on the television and you fall within this red box right now, I want you to take alert, but I also want you to turn that volume up before you go into your safe space. You can also take your phone with you and stream the coverage that we're providing now as well through our KVUE News app. If you're watching through that, bring it with you, turn the volume up, bring your laptop with you if you're watching it there as well. We'll continue to provide updates until this warning expires, since this is impacting, or is at least could be impacting most of Llano County over the next 40 minutes or so. So right now, if you're in Llano County, you're probably saying, Shane, I'm not seeing any activity. I'm not hearing any activity. The storm hasn't gotten to you just yet. It's now on the northeastern edge of Mason County, and it's moving in your direction. Now, it does look that underneath the tornado warning, they have also issued a severe thunderstorm warning. So let's take a look at the data for that. What I'll do here is I'll pull it on the edge right here. That severe thunderstorm warning is still with the other National Weather Service office that I mentioned covers the Mason County area. That runs until 6:30 as well. So Mason County, you notice that yellow underneath the red, that would be the severe thunderstorm warning that's underneath it as well. If you're just wondering why you saw a yellow box pop up under the red one. The red gets put on top because the tornado warning is more urgent and is more active at this time. What we're going to do now is take a check-in on the Doppler winds here, showing the velocity. We see once again that little dance, that little twirl between the red and the green, indicating that possible rotation here right near the Fredonia area, moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. What we'll do now is that we'll freeze the radar, and we're going to get an updated timeline for you. I'm going to take from the center of the rotation here. So not from the edge of the storm, we're going to go from the center of the rotation. And here's your latest timeline. If you live near or around Shiloh Church, if this system holds together, it will be on your doorstep by 6:35. If you live in Llano, the town of Llano, you'll see 6:49 is when that could be impacting you. If you are in Stoles, that's going to be by 7:02. Now, I know that's still plenty of time away. That's over an hour away from now, is what you're saying right now. Shane, why do I care this far in advance? Well, that's because the models are still picking up on the potential of either this storm or more storms developing and carrying throughout the hill country and pushing toward the I-35 corridor between the hours of now and all the way through 11 o'clock this evening. By 10 and 11 o'clock, it's going to be more of a problem for the coastal plain communities, but the severe weather risk will still be there at that time. Once again, check in on the hail potential. Some good news on that front. I am seeing the hail core weaken even further. So if you're curious, what we can do here is kind of assess using the scale that you see on the top of your screen. This is indicating not rainfall, but the diameter of the hail. Earlier in this warning, we were seeing magenta, which was showing maybe 2 inches in diameter hail. Now it's kind of tapered back to an inch or less than an inch. That's still large hail. That's still stuff that we don't want to see hitting our cars. So once again, if you are also, in this warned area, I don't want you to outdrive the storm, but I do want you, if you have maybe a garage or covered parking, move your car under that if you've got the time. Now that's only going to be if you're on the southeastern edge. If you're closer to the Fredonia area, we're not going out there in this right now. But if you are a little bit further out into Llano County, maybe on the eastern edge of Mason County, you got a little bit of time. Put your car underneath that covered parking because there is some large hail that's been associated with this storm, and then get back inside and get back to that safe space. Now, a little while ago, we were talking about safe spaces. I said ground floor of a sound structure. Shane, what if I'm not in a sound structure? What do I do? We're going to find a low-lying area, such as a ditch that's away from trees, away from any potential flying debris. We're going to lay flat in that low-lying area. We're going to keep our hands behind our head, and we're going to keep our face down until the storm passes. I know that's not what our natural instinct would say to go for, but scientifically that has been proven that is going to be the safest option for you if you cannot find a sound structure. So I'm talking a well-built home here. We're also not going to try and outdrive this system. We're going to pull our car over to the side of the road. We're going to get away from the car, as that does count as flying debris, potentially flying debris, and then we're going to find that ditch. Once again, continuing to see that hail core weaken, which is good news for us here. Still seeing that possible rotation a bit all over the place at this point. I know it has been kind of dancing back and forth throughout the past half an hour or so. So it's not the tightest of rotation, but I do see why the National Weather Service would still issue and extend this tornado warning, because we are still seeing that difference between inbound and outbound winds that would warrant a tornado. I've still not received any kind of confirmation of a tornado, an active tornado on the ground from either of the National Weather Services that have been covering this storm, but we do still have the active tornado warning that is in effect until 6:30. The time currently is 6:30 for those of you who are in your safe space and you're listening to this. You have the active tornado warning that is including Mason County until 6:15. Right now, the northeastern edge of Mason County is feeling the impacts of this storm, whether it being heavy rainfall, whether it being large hail, or maybe even some strong straight line winds that's associated with the storm as well, or maybe some strong winds from possible rotation that's coming from this. If you have any loved ones in this area, I'm going to need you to go ahead and contact them immediately. Make sure they're finding their safe space. If you got loved ones out in the Llano area, especially the northwestern quadrant of Llano, you'll notice that the box even kind of goes all the way closer to Enchanted Rock, believe it or not. I think that's kind of factoring in if it were to take more of a southbound trajectory, because right now it's moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. Llano, you're not seeing any activity, you're not hearing anything right now, but that will change as we head throughout the next half an hour or so. It is looking like the radar feedback that I'm seeing right now is getting less and less impressive. That's good news. I'd rather it be that way. As we are seeing, just checking up on alerts here, folks, from the National Weather Service, they're messaging us with all updates that we're getting not only to our phones and our computers here, but also into the weather computer that you're seeing projected on your screen right now. What does appear to be good news here is I am still seeing some possible rotation, but still not the strongest of feedback. I'm hoping if these trends continue, then we can cancel the tornado warning and then we can let you get back to your programming. But right now, the National Weather Service is still fairly confident in this still continuing over from Mason County into Llano County, which is why you do see the extension. Just as a reminder, if you're tuning in, the reason why we have two separate tornado warnings right now, two separate red boxes, is that we have two separate National Weather Service offices that are monitoring this system. You have the office that covers Mason County that it is currently impacting, and then you have the office that covers Llano County that is expecting it to be impacting those folks. So that's why we have two separate tornado warnings. The first one that includes Mason County expires at 6:15. That's going to be for the next 12 minutes. And then we have the Llano County portion of the tornado warning that goes until 6:30. That is for another 27 minutes. I'm now also seeing two hail cores, which is interesting. We're kind of seeing that main one split in half a bit. The reason I say this is interesting is because we've been dealing with one large hail core for the duration of this morning, and now we're seeing two. And what I'm going to do right here is show you the largest in each of these. It's looking like walnut-sized hail within each of these hail cores. Once again, 1 and 2 here, one just around the Fredonia area and the other one closer to the Mason and Llano County borderline. What's going to be interesting to see is if these fizzle out any further, or if one branches out and maybe strengthens a bit. Right now, based off the recent trends, I would have reason to believe that it should be weakening if it's weak enough to split into two. So once again, that Mason County portion of the tornado warning has been trimmed down even further to now only include parts of the Mason County area and not just north of our KV viewing area. This is now going to be south of the Fredonia area, going to the northeastern quadrant of Mason County. I did just get another update from the National Weather Service, so let me check in on that real quickly. We've got some revisions to the tornado warning that is going to be impacting Llano County. So let me zoom out and show you what we're talking about there. This one, a little bit further down the line of the storm. Here's the latest. The hail threat did go down. That's good news. Now we are looking at the potential for maybe quarter-size hail, so up to maybe an inch in diameter. We also have some maybe quarter-size hail. It's currently located near Field Creek, about 16 miles northwest of Llano, and is now moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. What does this mean? Well, the timeline changes slightly because if you recall, about 10 minutes or so ago, it was moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. So we're going to see if this still holds together. Still saying that flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Locations that could be impacted include Llano, Field Creek, Lone Grove, my good folks out there in Valley Spring, and even Stoles. So please take cover now. If you're in that sound structure, we're getting to the base floor of it. If you have a basement, that's the best option for you. I know not everyone has a basement though, so that's why we'll be perfectly fine with the ground level of your sound structure in the central location, central portion of that sound structure, away from windows, away from doors through the exterior, or away from the exterior walls in general, because any flying debris could be a projectile that goes through those walls. We're going to go to that central room, away from the windows. We're going to keep our heads down, blankets covering our heads, pillows, that if we can grab those as well. And if you have enough time, once again, if you're in the Llano, near the town of Llano, closer maybe even toward Enchanted Rock, you've got enough time if you want to grab a mattress and bring it with you. I'd highly encourage that as well. If you are closer to the system, thinking maybe closer to the Mason-Llano County lines, I'm going to need you guys to just go immediately into your safe space right now, as this system is going to be impacting you within the next couple of minutes. The area that you're seeing here on the radar right now, I'm showing you the feedback on the radar that is indicating heavy rainfall, the rainfall portion of the radar. We have been showing you the hail core as well, where you're seeing this magenta. On the radar that I'm showing you right now, that would usually and typically indicate very heavy rainfall. However, I have seen significant hail cores with this storm. We've been covering this for maybe the past 35, 40 minutes, and I've seen a very impressive hail core with this storm for that entire time frame. Right now, it looks like the heaviest of which is now moving into the northwestern area of Llano County. I am seeing still a bit of significant feedback on the radar in Mason County, closer to the northeastern quadrant of Mason County. Let's zoom this out a little further, and also let me check in with the National Weather Service to see if they do have any additional updates for us. We have no new updates from the National Weather Service, so that means everything is still a go here. What we are also going to do now is put that storm cone back into effect, because if you recall, I mentioned that we saw a slight slowdown in the movement of the storm because it went from moving at 35 miles per hour to the southeast to now 30 miles per hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to find that rotation together here, taking a look at the Doppler winds. We're honing in on where the green and the red are dancing together. They're kind of doing that little twirl around each other. Now it's getting less and less impressive, which I like to announce because that means we could hopefully be out of the woods, but we're not there just yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus it here on the brightest shade of green, just because I'm not seeing the tightest of rotation just to the east of it, or west of it rather. Now you're taking a look at the latest timeline. If we've got folks closer to or visiting maybe Llano City Park, or maybe even if you're visiting loved ones at Llano Memorial Hospital, you need to be on alert. This is still about half an hour to 34 minutes away from you guys. But we still need to be mindful of it in case it were to get extended again. Keep in mind that the tornado warning for Llano is basically an extension of this tornado warning that started already northwest of our viewing area. So this one in particular runs until 6:42 for the timeline for Llano Memorial Hospital. But the warning itself is set to expire at 6:30. So let's take a look at the latest scans together. You can now see something that's interesting and worth noting. That storm starting to bubble up on the outer edge and just outside of the severe thunderstorm warning box, which is going to be the box you see on your screen that's highlighted in yellow. The reason I haven't been talking about that as much is because the tornado warning basically supersedes it and is more of a concern for this area as opposed to the severe thunderstorm warning. The same concerns lie within the tornado warning box, with it being the potential for damaging wind from the tornado and then also maybe some large hail and heavy rainfall. The reason I find this interesting is because this means we're starting to see more instability and kind of deteriorating of the atmosphere. It's kind of fizzling out a little bit, which is allowing additional storms to bubble up and grow, which means we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for additional strong storms growing. Because as you know, if you stepped outside today, it was a very hot and sticky day in Central Texas. Heat and moisture are two very crucial ingredients for making an unsettled atmosphere, okay, which is where we start to see these storms bubble up. Yesterday, the ingredients were there for severe storms. We didn't see enough lift for those storms to grow and to develop. Today, we have a different weather story, and that's because we have that cold front that's moving in from the north. That's going to help direct this storm. That and the dry line that's usually out toward our west, kind of working together to push this to the southeast. Now, I am seeing some trends that are still showing in northwestern Llano County, looking like we have two potential hail cores here. Let's look at it again. And that is what we're seeing. The one to the west, so northeastern Mason County, this one right here is continuing to weaken. This one's still holding on. This one has a little bit more oomph in it, if you will. It's still holding the storm together. Let's kind of freeze this and see what the velocity is showing. I'm still seeing a weak little trend here that includes the warning that lasts for another now almost 4 minutes in northeastern Mason County. But then you still have the Llano County one that we're going to have to keep our eyes on the rotation for the northwestern edge of it. If that holds together, if that trend continues, that tornado warning will last for another 19 minutes as it goes until 6:30. So here's the latest look at the Doppler radar scan. That magenta picking up on the hail core, but also the possibility of some very heavy rainfall. So this is the tornado warning that's impacting only Mason County. That goes until 6:15. This is the tornado warning that impacts Llano County. That goes until 6:30. So once again, if you are right here on the edge, you'll notice this thunderstorm right here, probably bringing some heavy rainfall, maybe even some hail with it as well. This is not the area of concern with the rotation. It's still this one to the north that's been giving the most significant signature in regard to the radar winds. Now, we put the storm cone on here to give you a timeline a few minutes ago or so ago, but I want to give you an updated look just in case that has changed. We'll throw the velocity on here once again to kind of focus in on maybe that center of rotation. Okay, so here, now we've got like a few more updated places for you here. Okay, taking a look at this together. So we still have Llano City Park by 6:38, Llano itself at 6:41. If you have loved ones that are closer to the Highland Lakes United Methodist Church by 7:06, and if you've got loved ones that are closer to Buchanan Dam, or if you lived closer to Buchanan Dam by 7:10. Now that's just under an hour or so from now. But the reason why it's important to be on alert is because we've just gotten some word from the National Weather Service that we are starting to see additional storms pop up. Perhaps from the outflow of the tornadic storm that we're seeing in Llano County is the assumption right now, which is what we were just talking about that together. Let me pull that up just to show you what we're talking about here. That's this storm right here. This one right here. Now, within the past 5 minutes, I've seen intensification of this because you're seeing you just saw it right there with the latest radar scan. This is bubbling out from the outflow. So basically winds and lift that's happening from the outer edge of this particular storm to the north that caused the tornado warning that's impacting Llano County and right now also Mason County. That's not saying that there's a tornado warning that's spawning from this one on the Mason-Llano County line edge, but it is showing that additional storms that are very strong in nature could start to bubble up from these. We see it happen all the time. Let's see if there is a hail core that's associated with it. Right now we are starting to see a hail core develop. It's not a noticeable one just yet, but it is just worth noting the trend, showing pea-size hail that's associated with it. The one that is in northwestern Llano County still showing walnut-size hail, and then in the northeastern edge of Mason County showing pea-size hail. This particular core weakening. This one has been weakening gradually, but still holding together slightly. This one is growing. So we have three different storm stories right now. A weakening one that's holding on and kind of staying consistent, and one that's growing stronger. So just as a reminder, this tornado warning that is impacting Mason County, this should be expiring in the next couple of seconds. We will see if that does hold true. That is true. The one in northeastern Mason County, you still have some strong storms here in northeastern Mason County, but it is no longer tornado warned. That's good news for you guys. You could still be seeing some hail though, so be mindful of that. If you haven't already moved your car under some covered parking, you can do so now, but keep in mind that it is currently very heavy rainfall. If you see lightning or hear thunder, do not go outside. Do not, the time has passed for you to move your car into sheltered parking. However, now our focus now shifts into Llano County, especially between the Mason and Llano County line and northwestern Llano County, where we're still seeing some significant feedback on the radar. I'm going to zoom in here locally. Once again, we'll look at the velocity first. Interesting to note here, this one still, you know how we said that this one was kind of holding together and keeping pretty consistent, at least in regard to the hail core? The Doppler winds that we're showing you here, inbound and outbound winds, that's a tool that we use to try and pick up on the rotation for ourselves here in the Weather Center. That one's kind of weakening. However, what's interesting to see is right here, as we make our way to the Mason and Llano County line, there is starting to be some feedback. Now, it's once again worth noting that these storms probably were caused by outflow, so we are going to see opposing winds in those just naturally. I think it's going to be interesting to see if this one starts to pick up on any other potential rotation, because right now we see the hail core getting slightly bigger. The hail core in this one in northwestern Llano is still staying around walnut size, and the one further to the south is still showing pea-size hail. So let's go ahead and update the storm timeline for you, because that will have changed within the past few minutes. If you're just tuning in now, we do have an active tornado warning that is impacting Llano County. Just about 2 minutes or so ago, Mason County was dropped from this tornado warning. They're currently seeing a severe thunderstorm warning. That's not the one that we're concerned about at this time. We are concerned with the possible rotation. It is still radar indicated. We have not yet received any kind of confirmation that this storm actually has a tornado. The rotation that's being picked up on radar is why this tornado warning was issued by the National Weather Service. We have two different thunderstorms here. I know it's kind of hard to say that because you kind of see three here. We technically have this one in the back that's kind of fizzling out a bit. This one that you're seeing highlighted in magenta right now, indicating large hail and some heavy rainfall, that's the area that has the tornado warning associated with it. But we're keeping our eyes on this separate thunderstorm because it is growing in intensity a bit, and we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for any rotation. So let's go ahead and take a look at the latest in regard to the timeline of this Llano tornado warning. Southeast at 30 miles per hour. So let's go ahead and take that look at it together. What we're going to do is we're going to throw the velocity on there so that we can try and see where the rotation is. We're going to freeze that. We're going to put the cone on it together, okay, you guys? Southeast at 30 miles per hour. Okay, here we go. Here's the latest timeline for us here for the active tornado warning. Llano City Park, 6:39. That's in about 21 minutes. Llano Memorial Hospital by 6:43 for my friends out there in Kingsland. If this holds together, yes, 7:13 is outside of the tornado warning timeline, but if it holds together like it did from Mason into Llano, then you're going to need to go ahead and be on alert. I'd want you to go ahead and start making a plan to get to your safe space. You don't have to get to it just yet because you are not in the tornado warning, but it could very well be extended into your neck of the woods. If you've got friends or loved ones closer to Pack Saddle Elementary School or Lakeside Retreat Church, that would be around 7:13 to 7:17 when it could be knocking on their doorsteps and arriving into their neck of the woods. Taking another look at the latest scans with this particular storm. Let's actually also take a look at the lightning here. Also a great indicator of how unstable the atmosphere is. Believe it or not, the most frequent lightning is on the northern edge of Mason and Llano County, not necessarily where the most sizable hail core is located. What I also want us to do together is let's kind of cut this system open together. Let's take a look at a side view of it to see how large the updrafts are. Whenever we have that, it allows to show us whether or not it's growing. The higher, what I'm showing you right now is we're kind of cutting this storm in half and we're taking a look at the side view, kind of giving you an inside look at the updrafts. The numbers that you're seeing right here, that's going to be the altitude. This is 20,000 feet up in the air, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 feet. The higher it goes, the more unstable and stronger the storm is. That's the higher the updraft. Now, right now, it looks like it's topping out closer to around 40 to 50,000 feet for some of the moderate rainfall, which is pretty significant here. I mentioned a little bit earlier how we had very hot temperatures. We have a lot of moisture in the air. Look at what this does. Whenever we have the heat, that allows for stronger updrafts to occur. We see this tower of rain start to grow higher and higher. Keep in mind, the stronger the updraft, or the higher this, you see the yellow and the reds and oranges go, that means we're seeing maybe more circulation within the storm, or updrafts within the storm that could possibly aid in larger hail development. The higher the updraft, the more opportunity that the hail has to go back up, get more layers of ice, come back down, get picked right back up again. That's why we could see some large hail associated, in fact, some very large hail associated with some of these storms a little bit later today. In fact, very large hail is going to be our main concern as we head into the evening. Tornadoes were very isolated on the storm threat. You'll notice with that latest scan, look at this. This particular back half of the storm kind of is a little bit weaker. We dropped from 40,000 to now 30,000 feet. The one closer to the Mason-Llano County line, a little bit stronger. So let's take a look at the latest from that actually. You can see they're merging into one storm, which is interesting. You can see this line right here. They were separated. Now they've kind of combined together. It's going to be interesting to see what comes from that. Llano, if you're currently in Llano, you're probably either hearing a bit of thunder or maybe starting to see the rainfall pick up in your neighborhood. We'll see if we have any updates from the National Weather Service in regard to the movement. We do have an update. Emergency management from Llano County has mentioned that storm warning sirens have been activated. So it's possible that you're hearing sirens going out in parts of Llano County. That is because emergency management has mentioned that they have started storm warning sirens. They have been activated for you guys. Here's the latest in regard to that tornado warning for Llano. We're still talking about hail up to a quarter size. That's up to maybe an inch in diameter. The severe thunderstorm was located near Valley Spring, or about 7 miles west of Llano, now moving southeast at 35 miles per hour. The reason I highlight that, it's been kind of speeding up, slowing down, just ever so slightly. Now, it was at 30 miles per hour. Now it's up to 35 miles per hour again. It's been a trend that we've been noticing, really, for the entire duration of this storm. My folks that need to be on alert, Llano, Field Creek, Lone Grove, Valley Spring, Tao, all of you, please be on alert right now as you all fall within the box that could be impacted by this storm. This is a tornado warning, but right now we have not had any confirmation of a tornado. Let's see, what we're going to look at now is we're going to try and pick up once again. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of go back here, kind of reset for a moment. Give you a different angle of this. Okay, here we go. So the time is now currently about to turn 6:24 for you guys. Tornado warning runs for another 6 minutes. What's going to be interesting to see is that this gets extended to the southeast again. If it does, we're going to have new areas that are going to need to be on alert. Right now, this is the only, I'll zoom out and show you. This is the only storm that we're tracking right now, is this cluster that is on the eastern edge of Mason County and really now encompassing the northwestern half of Llano County. It's been growing in size throughout the past hour and now at this point. Large hail has been a concern. Let's go ahead and check back in to see if we are seeing any changes in the hail core. Still seeing on the eastern edge of Mason County, it's getting a little bit bigger now, now closer to just under an inch in diameter. It's looking for those folks. And it does look like right here, right along Highway 29, I am seeing walnut-sized hail still. This is going to be on the western, just west of Llano. For you folks out there, the rain is picking up, or you're going to hear some moderate to heavy downpours probably within the next 3 to 4 minutes. Be mindful of that. That is not the rotation that we're concerned about just yet. That rotation is out toward your west. My assumption right here is that the National Weather Service, right now, I mean, the radar scans are just a mess on the Doppler winds. Just putting it bluntly with you guys, it's not picking up a very good signature here. It's getting a bit messy. In fact, you can see it kind of scattered all over the place. Purple is just indicating feedback error. Don't try and disregard that. We're honing in on the red and the green. You do see a bit of red and green right here, but right now the National Weather Service has not issued any concern with that. I'm hoping we can get some cleaner scans with the Doppler on that, because it does not do a good job of telling you the story with that particular storm. So the trends I'm noticing overall, let's talk about those really quickly for those of you who are currently in this tornado warning area and you're already in your safe space. Once again, ground floor, central room, away from windows and doors, heads down, volume up for this broadcast. Blankets and pillows if you have them, but if the storm's ongoing right now, if you're hearing rain outside, don't grab the mattress. If you can even grab a mattress, you're just going to go straight to your safe space right now. Now, what we're seeing with the trends with this storm, it's growing wider, it's growing bigger. The tornado circulation, or what could possibly be the tornado circulation, is not growing wider. I have not seen a clear trend on this. This doesn't mean that we're out of the woods just yet. That doesn't mean that we can't see one develop. It just means that the radar has not been very impressive at showing it. If it were to be tightening up a little bit with the gradient, we would see that on the radar. The main trend that we've been noticing is hail still possible, and then the size of the storm itself, especially in regard to rainfall, is growing more and more. Now, this particular tornado warning lasts until 6:30. The current time is 6:27. We are expecting this to continue moving southeast at around 30 to 35 miles per hour. I give you that range because over the past hour, this storm has sped up slightly, it's slowed down slightly, it's shifted. It was at one point moving east. It's been and then shifting back southeast. It's very much going to be fluctuating as it makes its way through Llano County. So that's why I need everyone on alert for it. I need you on alert even if you're right outside this area. And then I need you, even if you're Enchanted Rock, you're not included in the warning, but you still need to be on alert in case it does shift a little bit further to the south. Now, the good news here, what we want to see the purples on the radar disappear. We want to see the reds disappear. But unfortunately, there's just a lot of activity that's ongoing here. Speaking of Enchanted Rock, just outside of the tornado warning box, you'll notice just a little moderate shower. This was just a light sprinkle a little while ago. I think this just goes ahead and reinforces the fact that we could see some additional storms bubbling up outside of this tornado warning box. And a trend that continues through the evening. Checking in with the National Weather Service really quickly to see if I have any more updates for you that we have not already talked about. No updates from them, so we'll continue to focus in on what we're seeing here. The Doppler radar winds, still not impressive. Look at this here. You know how we were talking about how one of these storms most likely came from the outflow boundary, which is basically an impressive like push out of wind from another storm? You can kind of see that here. Look how the winds are moving in this direction for that particular storm, and the one that bubbled up just on the outer edge of it kind of meeting in a different direction. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled right here. Honestly, let's kind of zoom in a little closer here to see if we're picking up on anything. Now keep in mind, if this where two storms are meeting, we can see severe weather that happens from it. But this is not currently what the National Weather Service is focused in on. They're not focused in on this storm just yet. They don't have reason to believe it has rotation to it that would warrant a tornado warning. But I'm going to keep my eyes on that for you just because it's the most significant that we're getting on the radar right now. We have another 30 seconds or so together with this tornado warning unless it does get extended. We'll go ahead and pull up this graphic right here. What looks like what's going to happen based off of that yellow box right here is that my assumption is that they're going to drop this tornado warning and instead replace it with a severe thunderstorm warning. I think that makes sense. That's what they've done. Okay, so here's the information for this, and then I'll let you get back to your broadcasting. This severe thunderstorm warning, this is what was the tornado warning, is being replaced. This severe thunderstorm warning lasts until 7:30, so it's about an hour long. It does have the threat of a potential tornado. Just as a reminder, we were seeing some rotation on the radar. It has been a weakening rotation, but there is still the potential for a tornado here. Large hail is also going to be possible, and we also could see some frequent lightning with it. Maybe even some damaging wind. Let me read you real quickly the info. Yes, the damaging wind, we could see gusts up to 60 miles per hour possible. And this particular storm that's located here, this one right here, moving southeast at 15 miles per hour. I'm stressing the 15 miles per hour because that's significantly slower than the other storms that we've been tracking. That means that it's going to be moving a lot slower than the rest of them. Could be maybe dumping a little bit more heavier rainfall and also maybe bring hail to that area for a little bit longer of a time if it holds together for the most part. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail will be possible within the shaded region that you're seeing on your screen in yellow. Now, like I said, since this tornado warning is over, we are going to return you back to your scheduled programming. However, here in the KVUE Weather Center, we're going to continue to monitor the potential for storms all evening long. Once again, from now through 11 o'clock is the main window of concern. Right now, we'll return you to your regularly scheduled programming, and we'll cut in if severe weather requires us to do so. Stay safe, everyone.